Scorpio, something bigger than money is on its way to you, and it's not a coincidence that you're here. This isn't just about a check. It's about confirmation. Confirmation that the universe has not forgotten you. That heaven has not overlooked your efforts. That what you've carried in silence, fought through in darkness, and endured in faith, is finally being answered. You didn't stumble onto this video by accident. You were drawn here because your name was whispered in divine spaces. And what's arriving now is not simply provision, it's proof of your destiny. It's the undeniable signal that everything you've survived has not been in vain. The big check is not symbolic. It's a spiritual document with your name written in light. And if you feel that in your spirit, even faintly, trust it. You've always known, haven't you? That there was something different about your path. Something more intense. More quiet. More hidden. You weren't made to walk the wide road. You were forged in private fires. Refined through silence. Raised through storms. Scorpio, your soul is not ordinary, it's sacred. It's layered. It's chosen. And that's why what's coming to you now is not just a payout. It's a prophecy fulfilled. Let's be honest. You've walked through seasons where even your faith felt like too much to carry. Where your generosity was overlooked, your loyalty betrayed, and your spirit stretched beyond what felt survivable. But you kept going. You kept believing. You kept loving even with hands that were empty. And now the time has come for divine reversal. This is the moment where the spiritual harvest you forgot you planted breaks through the soil. This is the shift from wondering, when will it be my time, to knowing, my time is now. And if no one's told you lately, let me say it clearly, you deserve what's coming. You're not just ready, you were always destined for it. Here on Miracle of the Sign, we don't just talk about blessings, we witness them. We don't chase the future, we align with it. And as someone who has spent years walking alongside the sacred archetypes of astrology, tarot, divine energy, and healing scripture, I tell you with the deepest conviction, this isn't hype. It's divine timing. So as we move through this message, I encourage you to be more than a viewer, be a participant. Anchor the energy by declaring it. In the comments, write, I receive my destiny now 777. That small act of faith is a spiritual key. You're not just writing a number. You're sealing the moment. Let me take a moment to thank you for your presence here. Every time you like, comment, or subscribe, you're not just supporting this channel, you're saying yes to the life you were created for. You're stepping deeper into spiritual alignment. And I see you. I honor your journey. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what the universe is about to reveal will not only stir your heart, it will confirm everything your soul has been quietly sensing. This isn't just another horoscope. This is your moment of divine recognition. Let's step into it, together. When a full moon enters Scorpio's second house, the realm of earned income, self-worth, and personal value, something profound begins to stir beneath the surface of your material world. But this isn't just about money. It's about the reflection of how deeply you value yourself, how you allow yourself to receive, and whether your outer life matches the inner truth you've been quietly carrying. The second house doesn't just speak to your bank account, it whispers to your soul. Do you believe you're worthy of more? And under the light of the full moon, that question can no longer be avoided. Lunar light reveals, exposes, and in Scorpio, it transforms. It doesn't ask politely, it demands truth. So if you've been underestimating your value, or shrinking your desires to make others comfortable, this cosmic alignment is here to break that pattern wide open. Now, with Uranus retrograde influencing this same area of your chart, the energy becomes electric, unpredictable, and beautifully disruptive. Uranus, the great awakener, never moves backward to punish, it reverses to reveal. During this retrograde, you may find that unexpected opportunities, surprise payments, or divine detours show up, seemingly from nowhere. What seems random is actually divinely rerouted. The check that gets approved. The application that suddenly reopens. The old skill that becomes your new stream of income. The message here is simple: stop trying to control the how. Just prepare for the arrival. What's meant for you is already on its way, but it likely won't come how you expected. That's how divine blessings often work. They surprise you into surrender. The tarot reflects this energy with exquisite precision. The Ace of Pentacles is not just a card of money, it's the seed of a tangible new beginning. It represents grounded prosperity, yes, but more than that, it confirms that your inner work is ready to bear outer fruit. This card arrives when spiritual alignment meets practical readiness. It's when faith graduates into evidence. And paired with the star, one of the most healing and hopeful cards in the entire deck, the story becomes undeniable. After a period of hardship, perhaps loss or uncertainty, the star says, your prayers have been heard. Your spirit is being restored. The light you gave to others is now returning to you. If you've ever felt like you poured out your energy for others and were left depleted, these two cards together say, without a doubt, restoration is coming. Not as a concept, but as a concrete, visible shift. But here's where it gets deeper. This moment is not simply about finances. It's about being willing to let abundance mirror back to you the parts of yourself that are finally ready to receive. Sometimes the reason we fear success or delay prosperity isn't because we don't want it, but because deep down, we've been trained to believe we're not allowed to have it, not without struggle, not without guilt, not without earning it beyond measure. This alignment astrologically and spiritually is here to rewrite that belief. To remind you that you are allowed to thrive. That healing doesn't have to hurt. That joy isn't a reward you earn after suffering, but a birthright you return to when you realign with your divine worth. And maybe that's the quiet miracle inside all of this. Not just that a financial door opens, but that a psychological one does too. That you no longer shrink when someone offers more. That you no longer reject the good because it feels unfamiliar. That you finally say yes, not just to the check, but to the version of you that's no longer afraid to cash it. If that resonates, Scorpio, then this is your portal. And it's already open. They often say that blessings arrive in envelopes, but Scorpio, yours is arriving encoded in energy, stamped not with ink, but with endurance. What we're calling a check here is not just a metaphor for money, but a symbol of release. It's the moment the invisible ledger of your soul clears, and all the invisible credits every act of faith, every unseen sacrifice, every time you gave when you were empty returned to you, multiplied. This isn't just financial repayment. It's energetic recognition. And when that kind of check arrives, it doesn't just impact your wallet, it recalibrates your self-worth. It says, you were never unseen. You were never forgotten. You were being recorded in the currency of the cosmos, and now it's time for the release. In the symbolic language of the universe, money is never just money. It is a reflection of value, not only what we earn, but what we believe we deserve. And that's where the transformation begins. Because the truth is, many of us were conditioned to believe that receiving comes with guilt, or that ease must be earned through struggle. And yet here you are, on the edge of a divine transaction that says otherwise. This check doesn't come because you begged for it. It comes because you became aligned with it. You kept walking when it hurt. You loved through betrayal. You held faith in seasons of silence. That frequency is what triggered this release. And now the universe is honoring the vibrational receipt, the evidence of a soul who didn't give up. When we speak of the ink of heaven, we are talking about spiritual coding, the signature energy that makes this blessing undeniably yours. No one else can claim it. No one else can intercept it. It's not attached to hustle or manipulation, it's been aligned with your heart. That's why, when it arrives, it will feel both miraculous and natural. You'll feel it not just in your hands, but in your breath, in your nervous system, in your inner peace. Because this is a recalibration of the story you've been telling yourself. From, "I hope something shifts," to, "This was always mine." Numerology confirms this deeper layer. The number 777, showing up repeatedly during this season, is more than angelic reassurance, it is a cosmic code. It signals the end of a karmic chapter and the initiation of a new soul cycle. When you see it, write it. When you feel it, speak it. When you believe it, declare it. I accept my new cycle. 777, that's not just a comment. It's a seal. It's an energetic contract you sign by faith, not with paper and pen, but with certainty and clarity. You are no longer negotiating for your worth. You are walking in it. There is deep healing in this kind of shift, and it extends beyond financial recovery. It touches your lineage. It clears inherited scarcity, the kind that's passed down through silence, shame, and survival. You're not just receiving for yourself, you're receiving for the generations before you who couldn't. You are the restoration point in your bloodline. And that alone makes this check sacred. So when it lands, whether it looks like unexpected money, a job offer, an inheritance, or simply an energetic upgrade, honor it. Let it affirm what you always knew in your gut: your sacrifices weren't wasted. They were seeds. And now, your harvest is here. When we speak of healing, especially within the Scorpio journey, we're not talking about something gentle or temporary, we're talking about soul-level repair that often comes after surviving emotional earthquakes. This isn't the kind of healing that asks for a quick fix. It's the kind that arrives after years of holding tension in the body, grief in the bones, and silence in the spirit. Scorpio doesn't skim the surface. You dive deep, and now, the universe is finally reaching just as deep to bring you back everything you thought you lost. But this return doesn't come in the form of noise. It comes in peace. It comes when you start to feel safe enough to breathe again. In energetic terms, the arrival of abundance is never just about money. It's the signal that your energy field has become aligned with reception, rather than resistance. Most people don't even realize how often they block good things, not out of fear of lack, but out of fear of being seen, of being chosen, of being asked to hold something they were never taught how to receive. This is especially true for those who have lived with the emotional imprint of rejection or scarcity. When you've been wired to expect less, it feels threatening to imagine receiving more. That's why healing is so important before the miracle, so that when it comes, you don't sabotage it. And in this case, what's being healed goes far beyond material stress. We're talking about healing the fear of being abandoned when you shine too brightly. Healing the fear of being punished for wanting more. Healing the belief that you must work yourself to the bone just to deserve a glimpse of joy. This is the layer where your nervous system begins to recalibrate, where your body no longer flinches when something good is on the horizon. It's the kind of restoration that makes you feel whole again, even when life hasn't handed you all the answers yet. Energetically, this is often supported by specific frequencies, and in this cycle, 3 are particularly active. The golden frequency, represented by brass and bronze tones, draws in prosperity and calls your future forward. The royal violet frequency heightens your intuitive awareness, lifting your perspective so you can see with the eyes of your higher self, not just your pain. And the deep blue frequency protects your aura, shielding you from energetic noise and anchoring your sensitivity in strength rather than fear. These are not just colors, they are frequencies your soul remembers, and you can use them through intentional clothing, visualization, or environment. In the language of astrology, this kind of deep internal healing often follows a long Pluto transit, a Neptune square, or even a Saturn return, all cycles that test your faith and identity. But what comes after the test is clarity. A new frequency. And right now, you're standing at the intersection of completion and rebirth. Not because you rushed the process, but because you endured it. And even if you didn't have words for what was happening, your soul knew and it stayed. That's what's being rewarded now. So as you begin to experience breakthroughs in unexpected places, financially, emotionally, spiritually, let your response be grounded in gentleness. Don't rush to explain it. Don't overthink whether you deserve it. Just receive it. Let yourself soften into the blessing, and let the blessing rewrite what you believe is possible for you. And if you feel called, share in the comments what you feel is ready to be healed. Speak it. Writing it becomes an energy transfer. And when you do, you give others permission to heal too. This is how the frequency shifts, not just for you, but for the whole field around you. When it comes to receiving miracles, Scorpio, there's a truth many overlook: the universe doesn't operate by force, but by frequency. It doesn't respond to desperation, to doubt, or to the clenched fist of control. It responds to resonance. It responds to alignment. And in this moment, your ability to receive what has already been promised doesn't depend on working harder, it depends on softening into belief. That's the essence of the law of attraction, not as a trending term but as a vibrational truth. You don't have to prove yourself to be ready. You simply have to become available energetically, emotionally, spiritually for what is already on its way. The check, the blessing, the breakthrough you seek isn't waiting for you to earn it. It's waiting for you to trust that you're worthy of it. This is where the inner shift becomes more important than any external strategy. You can hustle, overplan, and micromanage every step, but if your inner state is rooted in scarcity or fear, you're tuning into the wrong station. And the frequency of fear repels what love is trying to bring in. So let's change the frequency. Not with pressure, but with presence. Start with gratitude. Not performative gratitude, but the kind that wells up quietly when you realize you've already come farther than most would have. That you've survived what you once thought might break you. That you are breathing, sensing, growing, in spite of it all. that's where frequency begins to shift. Gratitude isn't a spiritual checkbox, it's a daily doorway. When you begin each morning with 3 things you're grateful for before the phone, before the calendar, before the world's noise, you anchor your energy in abundance. And when you write them down, you give form to the invisible. You signal to the universe, I am aware. I am awake. I am willing to receive more. Visualization, too, becomes a sacred tool here, not to escape reality, but to prepare your nervous system to hold what's coming. Picture yourself holding the check. Feel the weight of it in your hands. See your name written on it. Imagine the ink glistening under the light. Hear yourself signing it. What will you do first? Who will you bless? What debt will be cleared, not just financially, but emotionally? This isn't fantasy. This is a vibrational rehearsal, training your frequency to say yes, instead of silently flinching. And the more vividly you visualize with emotion, the more real it becomes to your subconscious. Because the subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's repeated. That's why daily affirmations, when spoken with emotion, shift you faster than logic ever could. When you speak aloud, 3 times a day, it's already mine, or I accept the blessing that is on its way, you're not lying to yourself, you're reprogramming the fear that told you to wait. You're choosing a new agreement with life. One where you co-create, rather than chase. One where you magnetize, rather than beg. One where your desires don't have to be apologized for, they're simply honored. And that's what makes this moment so powerful. The miracle doesn't just come to those who need it. It comes to those who prepare for it, not with fear, but with faith. And when your vibration rises to meet the miracle finds you faster. So I invite you, right now, to write down what you'll do first when the check arrives. Be specific. Name it. Declare it. The universe is listening. And more importantly, your own spirit is listening too. Let this be your signal that you're no longer waiting. You're welcoming. When we reach this part of the journey, Scorpio, something begins to shift, not just around you, but within you. All the inner work, the resilience, the quiet surrender you've held onto through seasons of uncertainty now begins to crystallize into form. And yet, what's arriving isn't just a check, a deposit, or a tangible financial change. What's truly arriving is a new lens. A new way of seeing yourself, your worth, your purpose. This is where your story moves from survival to embodiment. It's where the struggle no longer defines you, and the past no longer holds your voice hostage. This is not just a new chapter. This is an entirely new script. One where you are no longer a background character in your own life, but the author, the narrator, and the guide. The energy of this shift can feel subtle at first. It may come as a quieter mind in the morning. A deeper breath before responding. A pause where you once rushed. But over time, these small awakenings become the fabric of a new life, one where you live rather than endure, where you lead rather than explain, where you create rather than cope. It's a subtle form of power, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself because it's rooted in embodiment. This is the return of your spiritual authority. Not the kind that seeks to dominate, but the kind that naturally lights a path for others to follow. What's powerful about your journey is that it doesn't end with your healing. It evolves into your offering. The parts of you that once felt disqualified by pain now become the very tools through which you lead others to light. You become the mirror for someone else's awakening. The voice that says, "I've been there and you're not alone." This is legacy energy. And legacy doesn't begin with wealth. It begins with transformation. That's why this moment isn't just financial, it's foundational. It's redefining what you're here to build, how you show up, and what you're no longer willing to tolerate in your life. Your old limits no longer apply because your new identity won't fit inside them. Astrologically, this often aligns with a nodal shift, a soul-level redirection into destiny. It's the moment your internal GPS stops recalculating and starts moving forward. You're no longer circling old patterns. You're anchoring into new purpose. And what makes this season so sacred is that you don't have to strive for it. You just have to trust it. Trust that what's unfolding is not a reward for your perfection, but a response to your persistence. Trust that you've been prepared. That you've been refined through fire for a reason. And now that reason is revealing itself. There will be moments, even in the new beginning, where old doubt whispers. That's okay. You're still rewiring. But the fact that you're even able to recognize those thoughts as echoes rather than truth means the shift has already begun. This isn't about pretending you have it all figured out. It's about honoring how far you've come and allowing that to be enough for today. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, what part of you already knows you're different? What part of you senses that the old you wouldn't even recognize the strength you carry now? If even a flicker of that awareness lives in you, write it down. Speak it aloud. Declare it. Because every time you affirm it, you anchor it more deeply into reality. And if you feel called, I invite you to share one sentence in the commence, a declaration of the new version of you that is already arriving. Something as simple as, I'm no longer surviving. I'm living. Let this be the way you welcome the chapter you were born to write. If you've made it this far, then I believe deeply that something in this message was meant just for you. And perhaps that's the quiet confirmation you didn't even know you were waiting for. This check, this blessing, this breakthrough that's heading your way. It isn't a test to see if you're ready. It's a reflection of the truth that you've already become someone who can hold it. It's not a prize for those who perform, it's a promise to those who endure. And that includes you. You didn't come this far to stop here. You came to rise. To expand. To receive in a way that doesn't just change your day but rewrites the way you see yourself. The truth is, no one can live your life for you. No one can receive on your behalf. The choice to step into this next chapter with intention belongs to you. And maybe this is that sacred pause between chapters where you get to ask yourself, am I ready to live differently now? Am I willing to release the part of me that waited for permission, just to finally say yes to what's already mine? Because you don't need more signs, you need deeper trust. Trust in the timing. Trust in your worth. Trust in the fact that what's meant for you doesn't skip over those who are faithful, it circles back when they're aligned. So take a breath. Feel that moment land. And ask yourself gently, what would it look like to fully receive this? What would you do first? How would you walk differently tomorrow if you believed, without doubt, that the check is already on its way? That you're not behind. That you're not late. That you are, in fact, standing exactly where the divine needed you to be for this message to find you. And when it did, You listened. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, I invite you to anchor that energy by declaring it. Go to the comments and write, "I step into my new chapter." 777, that's not just a number. It's a frequency. It's a portal. It's a bold statement to your own soul that you're ready now, not someday, not later, but now. And if you feel this was meaningful, I want to thank you from the depth of my spirit for being here. Every like, every comment, every moment you spend on this channel adds to a collective field of faith, healing, and transformation. It brings us closer to the version of the world we're all working toward. You are part of that. Your light contributes to that. And I'm honored that miracle of the sign is part of your path. So don't just let this be another video. Let it be a turning point. Let it be a reminder that you were never forgotten. That your seeds have not been wasted. That your breakthrough was always going to arrive, but only when you were ready to recognize that it had your name written on it from the very beginning. Let this be the day you remember, you are not here by chance. You are chosen. You are guided. And you are already becoming the answer to prayers you once whispered in the dark.